Hey guys, um, coming on again today, and I wanted to talk about, you know, something that that INTPs and ENTPs and INTJs, ENTJs, although not so much ENTJs and TE valuers, but um, and maybe types with a little more FI. Uh, we we hear the phrase, right? So don't try to reinvent the wheel, right? And this is difficult to stomach, I think, uh, for some types, difficult to accept for some types. And yeah, and here's my response to people that say things like, don't try to reinvent the wheel. If people stop trying, if people didn't try to reinvent the wheel, then the wheel would have never been invented. If people had become complacent with the current state of things, the current procedure, the current technology, the current form, we wouldn't have progressed technologically, socially, individually. And that statement renders, I think, people complacent with genuinely bad procedures, methods, rules, institutions, policies. And, again, if people didn't try to reinvent the wheel would have never been invented. And so, there's some necessity for some types to break with the ease, the convenience, the approval, the comfort of norms, and to attempt to optimize and to genuinely attempt to optimize. And without this impulse for optimization, again, the wheel would have never been invented. So I would encourage you to take that point into your daily life and to recognize that this impulse to optimize, even if it appears redundant, pointless, unnecessary, the impulse should be gratified. And if there's, so I think the debate about whether we should try to reinvent the wheel when it comes to certain procedures, rules, institutions, is that, in a sense, this impulse to optimize, without it, there would be no optimization. And so when facing the, that personal dilemma, it's important to remember that the impulse has value, social value. The thing is that for individuals, often we are focused on immediate people. Well, not everyone. I don't want to make any general statements about that apply to everyone, because it certainly doesn't. If it did, I wouldn't be making this argument. You know, there is convenience, there's ease, there's comfort in, rote action, and people tend to, you know, uh, people tend to seek immediate practical outcomes, and when the only goal is a practical outcome, and the traditional method works, oftentimes due to lack of energy and time, we'd simply accept that the method needs to be applied, and optimization only potentially would delay the practical outcome. So there definitely are situations where time and energy are constrained, and we are forced to adhere to the traditional method. Um, However, generally speaking, again, if people weren't focused on reinventing the wheel would not have been invented. And so that impulse is important. And I guess this is more of just an encouragement to uh, types that I guess are more susceptible to experiencing some cognitive deviancy. And what I mean by that is, you know, um, what I mean by cognitive deviancy is, you people, some types, they'll have ideas that uh, do tend to fly in the face of, you know, traditional norms. And so for those types, I guess I would just offer an encouragement that, that impulse is good. The sensitivity to recognizing errors in the world, in your local environment, is good. And, you know, you can't always act on it. But regardless, that impulse should not be ignored by default. And so, that's really the only point that I wanted to make in this one. That what that statement denies is a very justified impulse to optimize. And that impulse is very socially beneficial if channeled, if the idea about how to optimize is good, then a chance should be taken on that idea. And there is a disruptive element to that, but some amount of, uh, in this sense, it's it's a beneficial kind of disruptiveness, and ultimately produces a greater long-term good in terms of its effect on producing optimization of rules, technologies, institutions, ways of thinking. And so, I guess for all the, and this isn't specific to any type, right? So that's probably an error that I made from the very beginning, which is that this is not unique to any specific MBTI type, and this isn't strictly an MBTI channel. But again, I think that, excuse me, I'm talking to myself right now, so I forget that manners are necessary. I forget that. Well, I feel like I'm talking to myself. I'm on camera, so I do forget that manners are necessary. But regardless, you know, when when asked or when told, don't try to reinvent the wheel. You ask them, make sure that you retort. You know, if we weren't focused on reinventing the wheel would have never been invented. So that's the only point I wanted to make. Yeah. So I'm gonna stay on for a couple more minutes. I see there's one viewer, so if any questions or comments, it's not a very complicated point, so there probably aren't a lot of issues with interpretation here. So I'll stay on for a couple more minutes and then I'll log out. Okay. Thanks for watching.